Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. It's Friday morning. It's January 20th, 2023. We're very glad you're with us this morning. Our agenda this morning is we'll start out with success stories. We'll then have everybody put their 30-second introductions in the chat window. We'll then hear from our committee reports, and then we'll have our main event, which will be Building a Better Brand, Part 2 of 2. For those people on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just enter them into the chat window. For those watching on Facebook, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Any questions you have, just put them into the comment field. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for other people to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. Whoops, let's see here. Get to the right thing. Good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Since 2008, I've been facilitating and leading, or since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. This group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior person who was leading the group landed a job. In 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you see me in person, I usually have copies with me. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team. You'll hear more about that in just a moment. Well, we'd like to start the meeting off with good news, successes. Do we have any landings? Anybody have any good news to share out there? Anyone? Good news, good news. Unmute your mic, let us know. Okay, it's been quiet so far in the month of January. Okay. All right, let's move on. What we'd like everybody to do now is please open up your chat window, and in the Zoom chat window, put in your 30-second introduction. We want to know your name, comma, phone, comma, email address, comma, position you're looking for, comma, 2 or 3 target companies, and then hit the return key. What I will do is I will get all this information. I will put it into an email this afternoon and look it over and see who you can help. Can you help one person, somebody today? Look over, find somebody else's target company. Maybe you have a contact there. That'd be great. I also use this to update the roster so that we'll know who's here in case you're using this for a workforce lesson. And also, this tells me who gets the email this afternoon. So if you want to get a copy of the email, if I don't know you're here, I'm not going to be able to do anything for you. So, all right, let's put 30 seconds on the clock. You've got plenty of time to just keep typing in there. We do have one person who's here in person, so I'm going to give her the mic and let her introduce herself.
Good morning. I'm Lisa Casto. I'm a professional librarian with experience in corporate and academic settings. I'm trained in institutional effectiveness and assessment and continuous improvement process, and I'm also uniquely a certified Scrum Master, which is my desired position at this point in life. Thank you.
Great. And you are?
I said it, Lisa Casto.
We'd like to put the name at the end, right? All right. Thank you very much. Thanks, Lisa, for being with us. I was going to be very lonely by myself today, but Lisa decided to come show up in person. And we are meeting in person, so please, please, please come join us. All right. If you know somebody who's unemployed, please let them know about Career DFW and careerusa.org. I know there are a lot of people getting laid off. You see it in the news all the time. So if you've got a friend, a neighbor, a colleague who's being laid off, being laid off, if they're not familiar about Career DFW and Career USA, please, please, please let them know. David Webb from Atlanta says, Lisa, great introduction, Lisa. Well done. So, all right. One of the things you'll find on the Career DFW calendar or is a series of calendars. You can check it out on the Career DFW website. Job fairs are in pink. Special workshops are in gold. The meetings that are meeting in person are in blue. The webinars are in purple. So please check it out. I know I just loaded a bunch of job fairs this past week on the calendar for the next few months. So if you see something, if you know about a job fair and you don't see it on the calendar, please let me know so I can add it so we can share that information with everybody. All right, let me talk about the practice interview team for a second, the Dallas Pit Crew. Your resume and your LinkedIn profile is not going to get you a job. What it will get you is a phone call. How well you practice your interviewing skills, that's what's going to get you your next job. So one of the things we talk about in the Dallas Pit Crew, first of all, it's totally free. You can schedule a practice interview and it's totally free. These are people who are giving back, who want to help you with your interviewing skills. Their motto is practice early, practice often. Don't wait until you've got an interview. Go ahead and if you see a job description that you're interested in, take that, send in your resume and practice. You can do it 3, 4, 5 times. Get used to, get good at what you're doing here because it will make a difference.
Test, test, test.
Hello, hello. We hear you.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. All right. So all you need to do is just send your resume and a job description and your schedule 3 to 4 days out, 2 to 3 to 3 to 4 days out to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. And what they'll do is they will schedule you with an interview. It's usually a panel interview of 2 or 3 candidates or 2 or 3 interviewers. And it'll be about a 45-minute interview, 15 to 20 minutes of feedback. You don't get feedback in a real interview, but you will hear. And everybody who's doing the interviewing, these are all hiring managers. These are people who've done this in the past. So if you're willing, don't wait until you have an interview. Don't call them up and say, hey, I got an interview on Friday. I need to schedule something, today or tomorrow. That's not going to give them enough time. Don't wait. So schedule your free practice interview. You can do it as many times as you want. If you're the 2nd or 3rd round or 4th round in, let people know, let the interview group know because they will customize the resume for wherever you are in your job search. All right, Walt is not with us today. He had a doctor's appointment this morning. So let me just briefly mention about his workshop. He does something called the Interview Success Workshop. It's on Tuesday mornings, usually between like 9 and 11 Central Time. This is, he only does 2 people at a time. This is a great way to prepare for a real interview. They'll ask an interview in his workshop. They ask an interview question, and then they stop and they talk about it and how to answer it and why you should answer it in a certain fashion. So it really is more of a learning. This is where you learn how to interview. And then once you've done it, then you probably want to do the practice interview team a couple of times to just get yourself ready for those panel interviews or those one-on-one interviews that you have. That QR code there on the side will start an email, and you can just edit the email for him. And you can then look up Walt on LinkedIn, and all the details, all the information's in the about section right there. And he'll just tell you what to do to join. Just send him an email and he will be glad to do it. If you want to connect with Walt, you're welcome to connect with Walt. Just be sure to send him a personal note. Just like me, I only connect with people who send me a personal note. If you just remember, if you see that white connect button, the white connect button on LinkedIn sends that generic invitation. When you see that white connect button, click on the person's face and then go to the blue connect button, and you can always send a personal note. And you always want to send a personal note when you're on LinkedIn. All right, it's time to hear about the career tip of the week. There's a new career tip of the week every Saturday afternoon. Rosanna, good morning.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everybody. All right. Well, this week's tip of the week is dated January the 22nd. And so the topic is 9 mistakes that make your resume look outdated. And this is by this article is by Byron Clark. So having an outdated resume can cost you the interview, even if you even if you have all the qualifications an employer wants to see. So fortunately, the mistakes that make your resume look outdated are all easy to fix. The following guide explains how to overhaul your resume to give you a leg up on the competition. So 9 signs you need to redo your resume. First, you've listed a home address. Managers are less likely to hire applicants with a long commute, according to a recent study by Notre Dame University. There's no need to list your full address on the resume, and doing so can appear outdated and expose you to discrimination. In today's market, it's best to include only your name, a professional sounding email address, and a phone number at the top of your resume. You could also include a link to your LinkedIn profile if you think that that will help to inform the manager's decision. An individual's professional reputation is pivotal if they're being considered for a C-suite position, and social media can be used to boost your credibility. Number 2, you have an objective or a statement of purpose. If you've applied for a job, the employer knows your objective is to interview for the position and receive an offer. Because this information is implied, you don't need to take up valuable space on the page with an objective. Instead, use a career summary section at the top of your resume. The career summary should include 1 or 2 brief paragraphs about who you are as a professional and what you've accomplished so far. This section will help your resume stand out and boost the chances that a hiring manager or recruiter continues reading past the introduction. Number 3, the template is text heavy. In general, people read left to right, but recruiters only spend an average of 10 seconds or less reviewing each resume, which means that they're scanning the page rather than reading every sentence. As a result, you need to adapt the structure to fit their reading style. Position the job title and length of each position in one line on opposite sides of the page. Then include the bulleted list of your achievements for every role. This format creates an E pattern that's easy to read and uses white space to draw the eye toward the most important highlights. Number 4, there are too many stylistic embellishments. 10 years ago, color and graphics might have added visual interest, but now most of these features will get filtered out through the applicant tracking system. A modern resume design is simple. The content should be clear, even without rich text formatting. Select fonts that are widely used and legible, such as Calibri or Arial. And these fonts are designed to look best on a computer screen, which is how most hiring managers and recruiters will read your resume. Number 5, you included personal references. When the time comes, an employer will ask for your references. Show respect for the colleagues' time and privacy by protecting their contact information until you reach that point. Setting these boundaries shows maturity, and it frees up space on the page for you to address issues that are more pressing. It already implies that you have professional references. You don't need to say references available upon request or anything similar. Number 6, you address basic proficiencies. Unless skills like email and Microsoft Word are mentioned on the job description, it's best to leave them off your resume. It's assumed that most office workers know how to use these features. If you're an expert at using a popular program, then list a specific skill on your resume. For example, document formatting in Microsoft Word. If you have any certifications, for example, Microsoft Office Specialist or MOS, you can also include those on your resume. Number 7, the formatting is inconsistent. You want employers to believe that you created a new resume for your current job. current job search. Ideally, it should be tailored to the position for which you're applying. Using a variety of fonts, inconsistent bolding, different date formats, etc., will make it seem like you've gradually added sections to the same document over a course of several years. This oversight makes it look like you haven't given much thought to your application or have strong attention to detail. There isn't a standard rule for how to use bolding, underlining, and headers on your resume, but pick one pattern and stick with it. Number 8, you discuss details that are irrelevant or personal. Focus on your professional qualifications and leave off any personal details like your marital status, number of children, hobbies, interests, and etc. If employers want to know about your hobbies, they'll ask about them in the interview. This is where you get to know you as a person and assess if you'll be a good cultural fit. Number 9, your resume is too long. As you progress in your career, your resume will get longer, but too much information can overwhelm readers and make your resume seem outdated. When an employer reads through your resume, they're not looking for a list of everything that you've done. Instead, they're thinking, does this person have the skills and experience necessary to step into the job and succeed? If you include a lot of the irrelevant information, it will be harder for the hiring manager to find the points they need to address. Try to keep the resume to 1 or 2 pages, even if you have more than 10 years of experience. Stop using your resume to list everything that you've done. Instead, treat the document like a targeted sales pitch. On average, every open position receives around 250 applications. There's a lot at stake with your resume. So if you follow the tips listed above, you will create a modern looking document that will help you land the job quickly. And just a little bit about Byron Clark. He's a former executive recruiter and job search author, and his blog is called Career Sidekick. It's read by over 1 million people a month and has been mentioned in Forbes, Business Insider, CNBC, Yahoo Finance, and more. And he has been advising job seekers since 2012 on how to think differently in their job search and land high-paying competitive jobs with less stress. Connect with Byron on LinkedIn. All right, everyone. Well, that is 9 mistakes that make your resume look outdated. Thanks for listening for the career tip of the week, and have a fantastic weekend.
Great, Rosanna. Thank you very, very much. And next Thursday for Effective Resume Thursdays, we'll be talking all about these 9 tips, and we'll take this little bit and we'll spread it out to about an hour, and we'll look at your resume if you'd like to do that. So that's next Thursday for Effective Resume Thursday. All right, today for lunch, hopefully some of you will come join us at Jason's Deli. We'll be there at 11:45 this morning, 4801 West Parker Road, Suite 105. It's on the northeast corner of Parker and Preston. So please come join us at Jason's Deli today for lunch. All right, our main event in just a moment will be part 2 of Be Your Better Brand with Fred. Hopefully many of y'all enjoyed last week's presentation, and he'll follow up this week with that and a lot more information. So coming up next Friday, being the first Friday of the month, we'll do open forum. We'll talk about whatever it is you would like to talk about. So come join us, save up your interview, save up your questions about anything in job search. And we will do that next Friday morning. There we go. Sorry, I didn't pop it up there. All right. So it's time to hear from Fred. Once again, this is a recorded session. This is his presentation he gave to us a year ago. I do have the edited version today, so you're not going to hear. I did go through, and it's everything I have. I brought my little USB, so everything's here with me at the church today. So to do that. So I'll start this up. It's about, I think, 55, 60 minutes long. And then any questions you have, we'll talk about that at the very end. For those who do not have the handout, I will send the handout out. It was in yesterday's email, but I will also attach the handout today in the presentation I hand out today. So let me get Fred up here. and we'll get him started.
And I want to welcome everybody to part 2 of our branding workshop. Wanted to give the respect to those of you that weren't able to participate in our part 1 last Friday, or didn't have a chance to watch the recording on YouTube. So I'm going to take a few minutes and give everybody a running head start. We talked about, do me a favor, Jeff, can you put up page 1? I'm just going to quickly give an overview or a review. For those of you that weren't on the call last Friday, I'm Fred Shlesinger, and I have reinvented myself or rebranded myself 3 times over the last 47 years. For 27 years, I was involved in the very high end of the men's clothing business. And in the late 90s, early 2000s, that industry was decimated through corporate casual and business casual, and the industry literally went away. And today it's a shell of what it was in its demise over 20 years ago. And so in the early 2000s, I reinvented myself as a financial advisor and built up a very successful practice. And a year ago, October, I sold that practice to a younger advisor to enter in what I call a hybrid retirement life. But now I have the ability of pursuing my true passion, which is tennis. So I'm a USPTA certified teaching professional. And I spent 2021 building up my tennis business, which is going very strong. And during the last 7 or 8 years, I have developed this branding workshop and become a branding coach to many people that I've met over the years. Jeff has had me speak to his career DFW group for the better part of 10 years, different topics, but the last 5 years has been branding. And those of you that weren't on the call understand that branding has become such an important, not so much hot, but an important topic, not in corporate America, in business in general, whether it's small business owners, medium-sized business owners, and certainly in corporations. I'm now being asked to come into some of these companies and be a branding consultant for people at a very high level in the corporate chain, and for small business owners that want to redefine their sales force. So particularly if you're in sales and marketing, it should be a relatively easy transition for you to be able to brand yourself if you're young and just getting into the workforce, or if you're mature and you want to rebrand yourself like I did. If you're in sales and marketing and have that mentality, it'll be a lot easier versus having a software mentality or a accounting mentality. It's going to be a little tougher, because what it's all about in your opportunity search is selling yourself. So when you finally do land an interview, whether it's a Zoom interview or in-person interview, I want you to be able to be fully equipped to put your best foot forward and sell yourself as a brand that will add value and will be able to problem solve whatever problems that are brought to you by the company, by the division head, by the department head, by the owner, whatever the case may be. Because, and I've said this many times on these calls, you're being hired for one reason and one reason only: to solve problems, whether it's accounting problems, operational problems, supply chain problems, sales problems. I have never seen a company that says, you know what, we're good, we have enough sales. Every company is always looking for sales. And right now, with this, the whole oddity of this pandemic that we've been thrown into, this has become a surreal business environment. And due to all these dynamics, the market has turned around dramatically. And it is so favorable for you to be able to land an opportunity as opposed to 2.5 years ago, when the market, if you think about it, and you look at it, was very, very different. And I would deliver these workshops to Jeff's organization, Jewish Family Services, Senior Source, and I can remember saying that statistically, there were 200 applicants for one job. This is going back a few years ago. Well, that whole balance has reshifted, and companies are looking for you. They want you. And it's really a matter of how aggressive, how proactive you want to be in landing your next opportunity. And you notice I don't use the J word. I don't like the J word. I really believe that if you get hired to enjoy an opportunity and not do a job. And I think that that's evolved over the last few years. So on page 1, Jeff, just to give a quick review, and I was just giving you an overview about myself, so you'll all feel very comfortable. So we talked about paradigms, and I wanted you to come up with the paradigm about yourself. How do you see yourself? And how do you see you shifting or evolving to becoming a better you? So I had asked you last week to take some time, you had the whole week to do this, and describe yourself as who you are, not what you are. And so many times when we go to a networking function, we immediately go into our diatribe of what we are, okay? What jobs we held, what credentials we had. But I believe firmly, ladies and gentlemen, that people get hired for who they are. I believe in the intangibles, and the intangibles are who they are. The what of you is very tangible. You know, you're a project manager, you're an account executive, you're a marketing specialist, whatever. That's all what. I have all these credentials, I have the experience, and I'm generically reliable, blah, 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 blah. These people that are hiring are really tired of hearing trite, generic words. So the whole point of this is to create an exciting, fresh, new spin on yourself. A little later on one of the pages, I give you an acronym of PASSION, and it's put a special spin in and on you using PASSION as an acronym. So does anybody want to play? Did anybody take the time to jot down 3 to 6 words that describe who you are? And for those of you that are new to the call or new to my speaking, this is going to be a stair step or building blocks. So we're going to take these things and we're going to be moving you towards creating that brand. So I don't have anybody responding or playing, and that's okay. Jump in.
Yeah, I got mentor, meticulous, funny, detail-oriented, analytical, and patient.
Funny, Jerry, like a clown, like I make you laugh. Funny, like a clown. I'm kidding.
Right.
I'm
And looking.
I'm a movie buff, so, and Goodfellas is one of my favorite movies. Thank you, Jerry. And those are great. I love funny. I love funny, but you have to be careful for the opportunity that you're looking for, because frankly, Jerry, no company wants a funny accountant. Okay, so you have to be able to put into words, and that's who you are. I get that. But if you're in sales and marketing, or you're in client care, funny, having a sense of humor is a golden intangible. So what area are you in, or what opportunity are you seeking, Jerry? If I may unmute your mic, please.
Accounting. No, I'm just kidding.
You know, that would be on your business card. The funny accountant.
Contractor.
Okay, the funny accountant, and we're going to laugh through profits or something like It's okay. Have fun with it. You know, don't be so serious about it. And that's part of my message to you. So then we move on. If nobody else wants to participate other than Jerry, we move on to what 3 to 6 words you need to be. In other words, if you're not where you are within the who in you, then what do you need to be to get what you want out of life? And that doesn't only mean your next opportunity. It might mean to find a significant other. It might mean to be a better parent. It might mean to be a better friend. So this is very far reaching, and it's not solely relegated to business. Next page, please, Jeff. Just in the review stage. So we talked about what is branding, and it's your promise that they could expect, your audience could expect something unique, different, or special. So to put this into context, when you do go into your interview, you want to be able to deliver something unique, different, and special. And then I gave a few examples of iconic, successful brands like BMW. What makes them unique is one word that makes them unique. Nike, what makes them unique? The Yankees, what makes them unique? And Apple. And so the one word that comes to mind immediately with BMW is engineering. Nike would be vision or fashion. Yankees, one word, winning. They've won the most world championships of any Major League Baseball club. I believe it's 26. And Apple, the one word that you could use to describe Apple is innovative. So take those iconic brands and picture yourself as a brand, and what would people use as one word to describe you? So I'm giving you 3 to 6 words of the who of you. And the soul of these companies are those words. That's what's made them successful for, in some cases, over 100 years. The Yankees have been around over 100 years. BMW has been around a good 75, 80 years, and on and on. So let's continue and let's really get into the heart of what you are all about. You are all about value. And the definition is the regard that something is held to deserve importance, worth, or usefulness. How important are you to the people in your life? Whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's business associates. And I want you to step back, look in the mirror and say, how important am I? And if you're not important or you don't feel you're important, create an importance, create a value, create a worth. And so what I asked everybody to do on last Friday's call was to sit down and introspectively create your own value brand statement, and not the old, dusty, antiquated elevator speech, using adjectives, superlatives to create a competitive advantage. So did anybody take the time to do that? Did anybody create a new and improved value brand statement? I'm sorry, Leora. Nurturing, caring, mentoring, training, meticulous, ambitious, team player. Love that. Love team player. Love ambitious. I want you to be able to come across in the interview and understand the word I'm about to use as hungry for an opportunity, not desperate, not haven't eaten in 3 weeks. I'm talking about hungry, thirsty for a new opportunity. I'm open to assimilate myself into your culture. I've done a lot of research about the culture of your company, and it's one of the reasons why I'm on this interview, because I think it speaks volumes for who you are as a company, and I feel very comfortable being a part of that because that's my personal culture, okay? People don't use that phrase, personal culture. And when you're in the interview, you say, my personal culture marries or blends or works very well with your corporate culture. That's why I'm on this Zoom interview or sitting in front of you. Any response to that? I hope you're all listening. I hope you're all enjoying this, and I hope you're all benefiting from it. So just give me some.
Well, Leon put down that marketing scientist.
Okay. All right. How does everybody feel about marketing scientist? So you meet Leon at a networking happy hour, a connection get together, and Leon says, "I'm Leon Nesbitt, and who are you?" And he talks about who he is, but then he says, and then they say, "Well, what do you do, Leon?" And he says, "I'm a marketing scientist." What I like about it is it's a phrase that nobody has heard before, or very few people have heard before. I haven't heard it before, but that doesn't mean that it didn't exist. So what I like about it, Leon, and I don't know if this is the reason you chose those two words, what I like about it, and I'll get back to you, Jerry, in a second, is what it elicits is a market scientist. I never heard of that. Tell me more. So if that, Leon, was your intent, then it's bordering on brilliant. Because
Well, it came up in my interview yesterday. And so a lot of marketing, the biggest issues are no one understands what works. So there's a lot of heavy emphasis on analytics. And so scientists, know exactly what works. And so that's why, as a concept, it resonated really well with the people I was interviewing with yesterday.
I love it. But also, can you see that it's a kind of a surprise factor when you tell somebody that that's what I am? You're going to get, I would bet, 8 out of 10 people going, what is that, Leon? And that is your pathway to really talk about yourself.
And it did. It opened the door to, because a lot of digital marketing is hypothesis testing, and it opened the door to childhood scientific experiments, and that took us in a whole different direction. But it's getting that kind of discipline into, what's the hypothesis, what's the data, what's the procedure, what are the results, what are we going to do next time, kind of conversation, which is really beneficial. So
this pandemic environment we're in, science has become the topic, and it's on everybody's mind about science, whether it's developing the vaccines or whatever, antibodies, that type of thing. So I love it. I'm surprised I've never heard that phrase, and I would say most of the people on the call haven't either. But I love the fact that you have taken the time to create a unique brand, and that's what this workshop is all about. So kudos to you, Leon. Thank you. We want to ask, what was the culture phrase again? Can anybody recant what I said? I can, but I want to see if anybody was actually listening to me, and just type it in for Leona's edification. JAMA, intriguing, will definitely prompt more conversation. I don't understand how the two words go together. Well, maybe you do now. Jerry, hopefully you do now. And I think Leon did a wonderful job in expressing himself and defining what it is that a marketing scientist does.
Fred,
Yes.
Fred, would you consider if he added one more word by putting an action verb in front of those two words, would make it more intriguing, I think.
Warmer?
Yeah, something. I think by adding just an action, some kind of action verb, whichever one he feels comfortable with. I mean, I still think the two words are very, tell me more, but I'd love to hear.
it'd probably be customer obsessed. Is the
Customer obsessed marketing scientist.
Yeah.
How about okay, so one of my pet peeves is I hate using the word customer, because the definition of a customer is somebody that buys once. I much prefer using the word client. It's a much more sophisticated term, and client implies that you have a customer that buys several times, which is what we all want. So what about client centric?
like that.
Okay, try that. Just try it. You got nothing to lose. Nothing at all to lose. We have nowhere to go but up in our opportunity search. So let's move on or move forward. I use some excerpts from a wonderful book, which I urge everybody to buy. He has 2 books out. The first book was called The Fred Factor, has nothing to do with me. It had to do with his postman, his mailman, that delivered unbelievable value just as a mailman. And then the follow-up to that was the Encore Effect. And so those of you, and everybody has this workbook, I want you to read on your own time the potential, purpose, passion, principles, perseverance, personalization, and the point. And at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, the point of our existence is to help move people forward in a positive way, whether it's in business, whether it's at home, whether it's in your church of choice, whatever it is. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help other people. We're here to help move people forward in a positive way. And you can immediately identify people that are benevolent and that do want to help you. And unfortunately, in these days, there's a lot of people that, excuse me, I got to call it, that don't have the time to help. But I've always believed that you make the time, and there's a lot of satisfaction in helping people. So, excuse me, I keep getting a call. Probably the most important sheet that we were able to hand out to you or send to you was page 5. And I really, really hope that some of you took the time to be serious about this self-inventory quadrant. And the self-inventory quadrant I created back in the early 2000s when I was desperately searching for my new career. And coming out of 27 years in the men's clothing business, realizing at 47, 48, that I have a whole career ahead of me and that that's a dead-end industry, I did a tremendous amount of research on who I was and listing my assets, my liabilities, my talents and skills, and being able to take those 4 areas, as good or bad as they may be, as extensive or shallow as they may be, into my next career. And I did. And for almost 20 years, moved on to be a successful financial advisor, mostly for small business owners. And it was a wonderful ride. And I was able to sell my practice and move on to teaching tennis. This is really very, very introspective. And the other thing I suggested is print it off that quadrant or draw a copy of it and sit down with your significant other and have him or her fill in the quadrant on their own. And then sit down with your work and compare it, because so much of this, the brand, is about perception. It's about how those iconic brands think of themselves and how they want their perception, self-perception, to be integrated into the perception of prospects or clients and make sure that they align. So, a BMW wants to be thought at as a cutting edge, a well-engineered vehicle. And so that's where all their marketing and all their advertising is, and so on, so on, and so forth. So page 6, very quickly, we're talking about taking stock in yourself as your greatest asset in your success, the self-inventorying, creating a mission statement. You've all heard the phrase, the acronym SMART. Goals: specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, or be able to time phase it. And I'm big on acronyms, as you can tell by now. So baby yourself, be a better you. Last Friday, I talked about every year I come up with a word that I use for the year. Last year in 2021, the word was savor. And I really forced myself to slow down and savor things that I took for granted. And it was very successful for me. And I would talk to other people about it, come up with a word. So this year, my word, and you could use the word if you feel it applies to you, in 2022, my word is better. Okay? Anything I do, I want to be better at. I want to be a better dad And now, as of last Friday, a better granddad. My daughter just had a beautiful baby girl, and we are over the moon about that. So I want to be a better granddad, a better husband, a better tennis pro, a better businessman, just constantly improving myself, slowly, subtly, day by day by day, eating that elephant of better one bite at a time. And I urge you all to consider that. Rounding out page 6, we talked about success. Did anybody take the time to define themselves and how they see success? Did you create a definition from your perception and your experiences? Most importantly, did you set that definition in motion? Okay, what I find, and I've worked for many, many years in this, in the job opportunity segment or market, and I find a lot of paralysis through analysis. A lot of people are going to do this. A lot of people are planning to do that. They're very weak words. They're not action words. If I'm planning, it's really not an action word. I want you to just go out and do things, make mistakes, learn from your mistakes, and don't hold back. You have nothing to lose. Apply for any opportunity that you feel you would be suited for. And you know what? The ancillary value of that is it's like batting practice. Get up to the plate. So you swing and miss. But train yourself to hit that curveball. You know, today, a lot of the HR and hiring managers are coming up with these, what they call in HR, these curveball questions that really, they're not looking for the answer. What they're looking for is how you answer them. They're looking for body language. So they're kind of like trick questions. And you got to be really careful, and you got to be confident that you can answer them. And don't focus into the actual answer. Focus more into staying calm and delivering, you know, the best quality answer you can. So,
Jerry, do you have a question?
Yes, at this point, I started feeling like I was going in circles, that the focus statement that I wrote, you know, like just picking on one, client satisfaction. Okay, that became a definition of success for me, but is that the right way to look at this?
well, okay, client satisfaction. I think you'll agree, everybody is pretty generic. I mean, you know, who doesn't want to satisfy client? You know, what's the opposite of that? So I would say that what you really want to be looking for is creating repetition in business. So you want to go beyond satisfying a client. I used the phrase last Friday that you don't have a can-do attitude, because anybody can do, anybody, but you have a will do. And we ended page 6, if you want to just jump back on that for the new attendees today. On the bottom of page 6, we talked about what is the common denominator of success. And because of our time restraints, I'm going to give you the answer. The common denominator of success is people willing to do the things that unsuccessful people are just not willing to do. And I used an example in sales that a unsuccessful seller or a good seller might make a follow-up call once or twice, 3 times. But a great seller will call and call and call, not to be persistent, because you have to assume there's a reason why they're not calling you back. And a lot of times I found in my sales career of 47 years, when I do get them on the phone, they finally thank me. Thank you for being perseverant, not persistent, perseverant, because you believed in your cause. You believed in helping me. And I've just been super busy, haven't had the time, but I want to do business with people that care about me. So I would try to rephrase that to passionate client care, something like that, and not use the word customer again. I shortened it so it didn't take so much time. No, but 3 to 5, 6 words is fine. But my focus is actually client satisfaction. But I like the word care. I really do. I think it's warmer, and I think it's less generic. So on the top of page 8, there's that acronym, but a serious spin in and on newness. How do you reinvent yourself every day? If I want to be better, I want to be better every day, every week, every month, until I get to the end of the year, and then step back. What I do is have meetings with myself. You know how often I have meetings with myself? Every night when my head hits the pillow. I review my day and I go, did I get my money's worth? It's something that I'm always saying to my wife, and you know, she laughs at it, but when she goes, how was your day? I go, I got my money's worth. I had a good day. I feel I've lived a good day of my life because of whatever I did. But it's only because of doing. It's only because I take action. Nothing happens by staying in bed and getting up and getting out. You know, 50% of success is showing up. How do you like that? You show up, something bad, something good's about to happen. You don't show up, you're out of the game. So very quickly, first impressions. I could do a whole workshop on first impressions, but you have the elements there. And I'm just going to point out one thing. Very important that early on, as early on in this interview as you can, ladies and gentlemen, is be likable. And if you're not likable while you're on this call, learn how to be likable. Practice being more likable. Practice smiling. People want to do business with people they like. But everything aside, product, price, delivery, blah, 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 blah. Because in today's world, they have a ton of choices. There's a ton of options. You pick a product and there's 100 competitors. What's going to separate you? What makes you unique? And one of the things simply is to be likable. You know what? I could buy these widgets from 50 other companies, but it's like Jerry. He gives me a fair price, takes care of me. He does what he says he's going to do. Another very, very simple adage in life, but specifically in business. How many people in your life simply don't do what they say they're going to do? So promise less, deliver more. And that's that whole will do attitude. That's that whole value added service. And I want you to think about that, Jerry. I want you to think about developing something with value added service. I'm not here to satisfy you. I'm here to meet and exceed your expectations as my client. A lot of people could meet your expectations, but exceeding them, that puts you in a different league. You know, in sales, my very first meeting I call my expectations meeting. And when I was in menswear, or when I was a financial advisor, and even now as a tennis pro, when I first meet somebody, I have a expectations meeting. I want to know what your expectations of me is, of me as a vendor, of me as a blank, whatever, as a husband, as a father, whatever. And I'm going to tell you what my expectations are of you as a client, as a tennis student, as a financial client, as a men's clothing store. And you'll get people going, well, what do you mean? You know, why do you have to have expectations of me? Because our expectations need to gel. And I need to know what you're expecting of me so I could supersede them, not meet them. Does any of that make sense to anybody listening? And it shows a passion. It shows a passion for doing business. Okay, page 9, now we're moving forward. And I want to talk about how you sell yourself now that we've created this brand, and I'm going to finish, make sure I have at least 5 to 7 minutes at the end, because I want to finish up with the business card branding. Jeff, please.
Okay, no problem. You got plenty of time.
Good. So we're after 11.
We can go to 11:15.
Perfect. Okay. So page 9, how do you sell yourself during a meeting? And I particularly want those of you that are on the call that don't have a AAA personality, that don't have a sales and marketing mentality, to really take heed. So, not in any particular order, chance to make a good first impression. And experts have said over the years that a first impression is indelibly created within the first 7 seconds of you making eye contact. So I'm not saying of you shaking hands or of you having a conversation, but within those first 7 seconds of the eye contact, we as humans scan the person we're meeting within 7 seconds. Like when you buy a loaf of bread at Tom Thumb, they scan the barcode. Same thing as humans. We're doing that scan. And what are we looking for in that 7-second scan? This is so important that you understand, but I'll put it out there as a question. Anybody want to play? What am I looking for in those first 7 seconds?
Likability.
Good. I like likability. Let's keep going. The eye contact, very important. But while I'm making eye contact in those 7 seconds, I'm looking for blank.
How you carry yourself?
Getting closer. Yes. I'm looking for things that I have in common with you. So a hiring manager is a female, and she's interviewing a female applicant. The female applicant walks in the door, and instantly the hiring manager, who's also female, says to herself, "Oh my God, I have that exact same scarf." Oh, there's a
Professionalism or character?
yes, yes, but they're looking for things that are common, like, oh my God, and I can give you thousands of these, but it could be, oh my God, he looks just like my brother. It's good. Hopefully it's good. Hopefully my brother's getting out of prison in the next 6 months. No, I'm kidding. But there has to be some kind of a link, a tether of commonality. So that's why it's so important that you dress properly and don't scoff at this, that you smell properly. A lot of times, and I've coached a lot of women, that some women just tend to put on too much perfume, or they tend to put on too much makeup. I'm not talking about within an interview. I'm not talking about going out on a date. But an interview, when you really think about it, is a business date. It really is, because you want to be likable and you want to be hired to join the company. Just like on a date, ultimately your goal is to create a relationship. Same thing. So be really careful about how you present yourself in those first 7 seconds of eye contact, of a firm handshake. And then as you get into your interview, always remember the adage that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and it is so important, particularly if you're in sales and marketing. You'll understand it's so important to be a great listener than a great speaker. You want to be able to listen to what the hiring manager or owner or division head, whoever's interviewing you, has to say, and then take that and maybe come back with a question. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I want you to think of an interview as an exchange, as a marketplace where you are buying and selling. Because if the geographical location isn't good for you, you're not a buyer, or other things. So it's not a one-way street. And be prepared. Come with great questions. And one of the great questions could be, you know, I've researched your company on your website and on the internet, and I'd like you to share a little bit more about what your culture is, what your culture means to the employees. You know, ask open-ended, in-depth questions. Don't ask, how many days of personal time off do I get? That's a terrible question because it's selfish. Okay, and I'm giving you an extreme. But come up with great, deep thought, open-ended questions, and be prepared to ask any of those. I had one of my coaching clients on the phone. She was in Northern California and she wants to move back to Dallas. So she's been interviewing with Dallas-based food companies, culinary companies. And we talked about this last week. And she asked that in the interview. And she's now has on her third interview, whether or not she'll get the job. Because I prepared her with this ammunition. Because most of us don't go on many interviews and think of the hiring manager might conduct 200, 300 interviews a year, and you're on your third. Again, batting practice. They're professional, and you're an amateur. You're in that Zoom seat. You're an amateur, and you don't know what to expect. So be prepared. Okay. One other phrase I want to throw out there. I've been using it lately with my branding clients. Good fortune favors the bold. You might have heard that. Be bold. 2022, maybe that's your word, bold. Step out of your comfort zone. Do things that you never normally do because we're living in the new normal. So why can't you be a new normal? Okay. Create a common interest during the interview. You happen to see, I'm just going to use an example, that sitting behind the hiring manager are 30 bowling trophies. And you could bring up that, you know what, my son is really into bowling, whatever it is. Find something to connect. These hiring managers or the people that are interviewing you, they're people. They're people. They want to hire you. They want to do their job so they can move on. One other technique that I found very, very valuable in an interview is I show up with a high quality portfolio and a high quality writing instrument. And I'll ask the interviewer at the very beginning, is it okay if I take notes? Now, you might have never thought of that, or you might think that what I just said is silly, but it's not. It goes to respect. Do you mind if I just jot down some notes? Because I want to be able to process all this during this 20-minute interview and maybe come back to you with questions. Is that okay? I mean, can I have your email or your direct phone line if you have any questions after the interview? Hiring managers eat that up. They love that. Okay. Page 11. Thank you, Jeff. So, again, I like to use acronyms. And my acronym right there that I listed vertically is ENGAGE. And I would say that if I did use one word that does describe me, it would be to engage. I love people. I love contact, whether it's verbal contact, textual contact, physical, whatever it is. I love being in touch with people. I bolt out of bed every morning. And as I mentioned last Friday, and you know, some of you may laugh at this, but my ultimate goal is to meet everybody in the world. I know it's a tall order. I'm doing pretty good though. The Asia thing with the billions of people, that's probably my Waterloo, but I'm doing pretty good domestically, meeting a lot of people every day. And you know what? On your opportunity search, keep expectations low. And when your head hits the pillow tonight, say to yourself, I want to meet at least 3 people a day. And you just start filling up your life with new people, never knowing where those people are going to take you. You don't know. But if you stay at home, you're not going to meet anybody. Get out there, whether it's sitting at Starbucks or, when I first started my financial service business, what I did is 3 times a week, I would take myself to lunch at a high-end restaurant. But I'd only take myself to lunch after 1:30. Anybody want to tell me why it would be after 1:30? My market was small business owners. The business owners, they'll go out to lunch at 11:30 or 11:45 at 12. You go out to lunch at 1:30, 2 o'clock. Okay, the employees go out to lunch at 11:30, 12 o'clock, because they got to be back in an hour. So I'd sit at the bar of a high-end restaurant for years. And I used to spend a lot of time in Houston. It's no longer Houston's on Beltline in Addison. It's now going to be renamed called Brentwood. And I just sit there with a very interesting book. I'd have a book and I'd have my food. And I'd sit over, and not be obvious. And lo and behold, 1, 2, 3 people would be either sitting there or come to sit there 1:30, 2 o'clock. Sometimes I'd eat lunch at 2:30. I derived about 30% of my client base from that effort. So anyway, it's all about being creative. It's all about thinking out of the box and stepping out of your comfort zone. And I ate well. Okay, so the E stands for, because I want to make sure we have enough time. Jeff, educate. So the intangibles of you presenting to a group or an individual or being in a interviewing situation, allowing them to be open to your style of presentation and of course content. I used to do training workshops for corporate trainers, and that's where this came from. But you can easily apply this to yourself personally. The N is for nurture. The G we talked about earlier, it stands for greet. How you initially greet somebody, meet somebody, make that initial 7-second first impression contact. A is accessible. You want to be accessible. You want to be a resource to all that you meet. Greatness. Another word, great, is overused in our society, in our lives. But I would love for you to take some time to define what greatness means to you. How could you live a great life? To be living a great life. How could you live a greater life? A better life? And if we're not constantly striving to be better, to do better, then what happens ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, is we become stagnant. It's like a still pond. There's no movement. And things begin to die. Being a little dramatic, but I want to urge you to always create motion, always create action, and don't wait till somebody creates the action to you. In tennis, we say, don't let the ball play you. You play the ball. You move forward. You be aggressive in any sport. But today we're talking about the sport of life. And E goes back to what I mentioned earlier, exceed expectations, double E. We're not going to, on the next page, page 12, we're not going to get deep into it, but I wanted you to have this for you to read, 11 things to know. And I'll just kind of highlight a few things. Not quite sure where I got this from, but I thought it was brilliant. And I created these excerpts about 10 years ago, and they're as important today as they were 10 years ago. Know the difference between listening and learning. Know how the brain makes decisions about what to pay attention to and what to remember. Know the wide variety of learning styles. So, you meet somebody in an interview or at a networking function, you don't know these people. And the best way to get to know somebody is to ask provocative, compelling questions. So what I did when I became a financial advisor and I met somebody is I would ask this prospect, let's say, I would ask them a variety of questions, not pound them with questions, not pressure them, but just ask them. And I would keep asking them questions about themselves, about their family. I would take it as a stair step, like, they'd tell me about their family. And I'd say, well, really, that's really interesting. Tell me more about your daughter. And that's amazing that she's a concert pianist or whatever it is. And I just kept going and going and going until finally the nugget would appear. Anybody want to guess what that nugget is? I meet somebody, exchange some pleasantries, warm them up, so to speak, and start asking them wonderful questions. And then all of a sudden, the pendulum shifts to what? What do they do?
They want to know about you, maybe?
Thank you. Because you have made, think of the psychology of this, ladies and gentlemen. You have made this investment in them by asking them questions, by appearing to be interested in their life. How many times do you see somebody or meet somebody you know, or even a stranger, hey, how you doing? You don't really care how they're doing. And I tried it, I tested it. Somebody said to me, it was a couple of weeks ago, how you doing? I said, well, I got about 2 weeks left to live. Great, you know what? Let's try it. People don't listen. Be a great listener. It's such a valuable skill. Or if you are a great listener, it's a valuable talent. I want to tangent back to something on that, and you don't have to go back to it, on that quadrant for a second. There is a huge difference, ladies and gentlemen, between skill and talent. And when you're interviewing, I want you to be able to display and talk about your talents versus your skills. A skill is a learned behavior. Talent is innate. And I gave the example last week. I could tell a joke and you could laugh, but that doesn't mean I'm funny. The skill is joke telling. The talent is being funny. So take that with you. It's just so important for you to identify what your talents are. And again, I keep going back, and the consistent thread here is find out what your intangibles are, because those intangibles will create that competitive advantage, will make you unique, will help you deliver a better brand. But continuing on page 12, consider the learner is to be on a kind of hero's journey. Good stories work. There's a wonderful book that I read and devoured for the first few years of my financial service career called Story Selling. And I, off the top of my head, can't remember. I think his first name was Mitch, but just type in Google search story selling, and he's written a few books. And the first one he wrote was for financial advisors. So of course, that got my attention. But learn how to tell a story, a quick story, not a long-winded story, not a 2-hour novel, but be able to tell a story in context to the question asked. So your response is just a little vignette. It's just a little story. That reminds me that 3 years ago when I was working on this project, it was a tremendous challenge, blah, blah, blah. And what you're doing is you're telling a story about how you overcame the challenges. and that you would overcome those challenges if you were hired with a new company. There it is, bingo. Mitch Anthony, thank you. Mitch Anthony. And by the way, I have heard him speak twice in person. The company that I represented, Principal Financial Group, brought them in at our national recognition meetings, and he's a brilliant speaker. So definitely buy the book. And if he's got any YouTube videos, this guy, he's wonderful. And you have to surround yourself with those kind of resources, and of course, ultimately be a great resource yourself. Then I put in here a few pages on that first impression, going back to it, because it's just so important that you create that first impression, because you only get one chance, only get one. And practice with a significant other, a good friend, go to coffee and role play. And one of the things that I urge each and every one of you to do, and unfortunately, this is an electronic meeting, but find somebody in the gallery and reach out to them and say, hey, for whatever reason, I liked you. I liked your responses. I think we have things in common. Maybe there are 3 other marketing scientists on the call, and you guys could create your own little, probably not, but you guys could create your own little role play coffee hour and constantly be practicing. And the best way to practice is role play. And that's what I always suggest to my branding clients when they're about to interview. And I'll have a role play, we'll do a mock-up interview, and I'll ask them tough questions, like those questions that I'm really not looking for the answer. I'm looking for their facial response. I'm looking for their body language. And that's really important. And of course, in today's world, with everything being Zoom, it's difficult to detect somebody's body language, their whole body. So you got pretty much from the chest up, or maybe from the neck up. But even so, it's important that that picture, whether it's the way you wear your hair, ladies, your makeup, whatever the case may be, your accessories, your jewelries, how you're dressing, all is part of it, because they can't see your whole body. And then as we head into the home stretch, and this is what I wanted to have the time. So I wanted to be able to take all of last week and all of this Friday's memorable business card. Even though we're in a digital world and an electronic world, for some crazy reason, business cards are still important. But it's basically talking about how your business card means business. Now, this is back in 2008, but it's every bit as contemporary today as it was 14 years ago. So what we want to talk about on your business cards is, I would ask you to have a blank slate. Forget about everything that you think you know about business cards or creating a business card. And I'm going to submit a few things to you. First of all, there's 2 sides to a business card. Does everybody agree? Give me a little thumbs up if you're on video. Yep. What are the 2 sides? And you can type that in your chat box. This is a trick question. What are the 2 sides to a business card? Are the 2 sides the back and the front? Most people would agree, right? So, because we're running out of time, the 2 sides to your business card is an inside and an outside card. Rusty says your side and their side, front and back. So I want you to open up your mind, and like a parachute, a mind only works when it's open. And let me submit to you that your next business card will have an inside, and that inside, which you might think of as the back of the card, but it's actually the inside of the card. That's what you present first. You present the inside. And what's on the inside? The who you are, the inside of your business card. So this is going to be backwards, yeah. So I was going to show my business card. So when I was with Principal as a financial advisor,
Okay, we could see it. It showed correctly.
okay, so there you go. So putting the fun in fundamentals, that's my value statement as a teaching pro. And then just a nice little icon of a part of a tennis ball, and that's the inside. So when I hand my business card, I hand it to an inside or inside first. So I want them to get this, and they go, "Oh, that's cute. That's funny. Tell me more." And that's what you want to do. And that's why I like where you're going, Leon, with the market scientist. And I would love for that to be on the inside of your card, and maybe add a superlative, passionate, well, whatever it is. Results oriented, whatever. And then on the outside of my business card, it's just all the boring stuff. My name, what I do, and my credentials. So getting back to what somebody said earlier about my LinkedIn QR code on the back, no, when you redo your card, Leora, put all that what on the outside of the card. Put the who on the inside of the card. And when you hand it to people, they're going to look at it. And instead of looking at just some, your name and your cell phone number and maybe you have a website, boring stuff, nobody cares. But all of a sudden, oh, that's something different. That's something unique. That's something I'd like to learn more about. Tell me more about you as a market scientist. And I'm sorry I keep referring to that, but you elicited interest. So I like it. Who your contact, who you are with contact details. The back is my LinkedIn. Okay, so again, it's not about who you are. And how we started all this is I wanted you to come up with 3 to 6 words that describe who you are. That becomes the inside of your card, and that is what you're going to use to craft your value statement. Because people hire you for value. People hire you to solve problems. How much value could you bring to the company? That's your job, to sell them on the value that you could bring to the company. Because that's what it's all about. Why do you have friends? People that are in your life are in your life because they bring value to you and you bring value to them. And you'll find that if you have a friend that brings no value to you, eventually that relationship dissipates. Family, okay, we're stuck with family, even though my son hasn't brought any value to me in 25 years. He's still my son and still love him. But I'm talking about in business. If you approach a prospect, what's a prospect? It's somebody that has the potential to do business with you, or is qualified to do business with you. And their perception is you can't bring any value to them or their company, they're not interested. So within the beginning of a presentation or the beginning of an interview, you need to establish that you're a value-oriented person, value service oriented, will-do attitude, not just can-do attitude.
Jim, I asked a question. What are your thoughts about putting your photo on business cards?
That's my thought. Those of you who didn't hear my thought. Now, there is 1 or 2 industries that promote photos on a card. And the number one is the real estate realtors. Every realtor that's ever approached you put their picture. The problem is, I'll look at the card and I'll go, oh, is that your sister? Oh, who's on the card? Because they haven't updated their picture. And the card was from 12 years ago. And they don't look anything like it. And I think it borders on being a little tacky. And the other industry is the hair industry. I notice when I meet a hairstylist, they'll put their picture on. And maybe there's a few other, but other than that, no.
I used to live in Rochester, New York, and everybody who worked at Eastman Kodak, of course, had their photo because they printed their business cards on photo paper. But,
Yes, and look at where Kodak is today.
right.
Now you can't take a picture if you wanted to. Or it's overexposed. Okay, good. Got it. Thank you. Keep going.
Hi, Fred, this is Leon. I've enjoyed this. This is very motivational, and I've done a lot of what you've done, but this is our first meeting. I think we've met you before in the past, but this
You look familiar. I'm not sure if you've been to one of my other workshops, but that's great. Thank you.
yeah, it was very helpful. So I appreciate it.
Rusty, can you explain the self-inventory quadrant? What do you do after completing a list? Great question. So, by the way, has anybody tackled that quadrant? No? Okay. So the whole purpose of it is to create an X-ray of yourself. Okay. And what you'll find is when you start listing your assets and you start listing your liabilities, you'll find that in some cases, depending upon what opportunity you want, depending upon where you are in your business life, the assets could be perceived as liabilities. I'll give you a perfect example, Jerry. You list an asset of being funny, but frankly, being funny as an accountant could be perceived as a liability. It could be perceived that all you like to do is talk and kid around, and that's not what we're hiring you for. I'm just saying.
Right.
Okay. So when you list the assets, these are indigenous assets that make you unique and special. And you have to come to grips with your liabilities. Hey, I'm shy or whatever. But the interviewer might not see being shy as a liability depending upon the context and the job that they're interviewing for. So what this is great for is it's like an X-ray, and it shows you who you are. Now, very quickly, talent and skill. Most people don't have a lot of talent or talents. A lot of people, it's easy to acquire skills. You can't acquire talent. If you have it, it's innate. You're born with it. And bring it out. But you have to identify that that's a talent of mine. The only way you identify talents in you is by doing and making mistakes and saying, wow, I can't believe it. You know what? I always wanted to play piano, and I finally decided to take lessons and play piano. And within 6 months, I can't believe that that's a talent. Well, you wouldn't know it's a talent unless you actually pursued it. I want to thank you for your time today. I certainly hope you got value out of our time together. And I want to wish you a very healthy, happy, and successful, and baby, the acronym, be a better you. And with that, if there's nothing else, have a wonderful weekend. I'm Fred Shlesinger, and I'm here to help you.
All right, that's Fred's presentation. Let me, let's see here. Let's stop the share. Let me turn my camera back on so I can see everybody. Where'd my camera go? There we go. Now I can see everybody. Any comments, questions anybody has? Comments, questions? I will put his hand out that he talked about. I'll put that hand out in the email that came out this afternoon. Questions, comments, anything? All right, well, let me just share a few slides and we will get out of here today. Next Friday, we will do open forum, first Friday of the month. We'll talk about whatever it is you'd like to talk about. So bring us your questions, save them up, come up with some really good ones. I know last month we had a really interesting, we went into all sorts of topics that were really, really interesting. So please come join us next Friday. And we are meeting in person, so please come join us in person. If you have not put your 30-second introductions into the Zoom chat window, please do so. That way we know you're with us. Name, phone, email address, position you're looking for. Give us a couple target companies. And then I ask everybody, please, this afternoon, when I put that email out, look over the list. Look over there and see who can you help today. Can you help one person today? Go look at that list, find out who has a target company that maybe you know somebody there and you can help them. That would be really appreciated. Career DFW, Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us next Tuesday, LinkedIn Tuesday, 1 o'clock Central. LinkedIn from Recruiter's Eye. Kurt Vondermatter will be with us. We'll be talking about the recruiting package on LinkedIn. So if you've never seen what it looks like from the back end, he pays the big bucks to LinkedIn to find candidates. And he'll show us how that works and answer any questions you've got. He's a retained search consultant. So he gets hired by a company and he's the sole person who's trying to find somebody. So nobody else is, it's not like these other people where there's 4 or 5 different agencies are trying to find somebody. He's a sole proprietor trying to find you to fill in his candidacy. So he'll explain to you what he's looking for. You'll get to see the recruiting package. It's a really interesting presentation to see LinkedIn from the back end. Next Wednesday, Walt Glass will be with us live. He'll talk about distinctive interviewing. It's a great session. Walt will be back with us next Wednesday. And then next Thursday, as I mentioned before, being the first Thursday of the month, we're going to talk all about effective resumes, primarily resumes for the ATS system. And we'll go into a lot more detail from the tip of the week this past week, the 9 bullet points that Rosanna talked about. We'll go into a lot of detail about those and make sure you understand those. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist, and then down below, find the one you want. And then underneath where you see that red arrow, click View Full Playlist. And up will come a list of all the dates in chronological order. You can go back, scroll down, find the topic that you'd like to watch. Remember, any of the topics that you see in the North Dallas group, you need to go 20 to 30 minutes into the video to get past our preliminary stuff to get to our speaker. This video probably won't be up until, I'm saying probably around dinner time tonight. I've got a couple of things I've got to take care of this afternoon. So the email and getting the video up may be a little bit later today than normal. Hopefully you all can join us today. Join us today at Jason's Deli. If anybody's out there and thinks they're going to join us, please put in the chat window. Let me know we're going to see you. That way I know how big a table to get. So come join us today, 1145 Jason's Deli, northeast corner of Parker and Preston. And for everybody else, thanks for joining us today. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.